Shaun, we're out here, beautiful day, long par 4 at Cartersville Country Club, and there's a term that we coined a few years back called recentering, and it's a question we get all the time, and you're definitely going to want to do it if you want to hit more fairways and farther down the fairway like a hole here. In this video, we're going to show you how to do it with all your clubs. We've talked about recentering for a while now. We talked about the importance of not only allowing your body to move laterally to the right, but also, of course, back to the left. And we see it in every great swing we've looked at on gears. We see it in the force data. But swaying has got to be kind of a dirty word, right? Over the past handful of years. And I think a big part of it is golfers get themselves in trouble when the timing of that movement is off. And a good indication of what we see is a golfer who will try not to sway, right? They're at setup, they're moving into the backswing, and then somewhere near the end of the backswing, they realize they got to generate some sort of athletic motion, and then they bounce to the right, and then they're basically starting their downswing from deep into the right side.
Yeah, they know, I think, kind of instinctively they need some kind of momentum, so they try to stay really locked in. They're going to move anyway, but they're doing it at the wrong time. They try to do it as the club finishes, they go to the right, and it destroys any kind of good sequencing they would have had.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, golfers oftentimes will think it's an either-or proposition. I can either move laterally or I can rotate. Everyone likes to rotate, but when you actually look at what good golfers do, we have yet to see a professional golfer who doesn't rotate while they're moving laterally, right? The two are always coexisting. And again, it's when you do it that makes all the difference. So we're going to show you a couple real-world examples here. And we're going to look at Jon Rahm first. And what we're going to do is put a line right down the side of both legs. We're going to demonstrate what we talk about for a long time, the recentering aspect of the golf swing. And you'll see very clearly in this swing here, as he gets moving in the backswing, you can see that initial bump to the right, right? We see it all the time, and it usually happens somewhere in the first foot or so of the backswing.
Yeah, as soon as that club start moving, the golfers that we see playing at a high level are moving to the right or away from the target slightly. And it happens really early in the backswing.
Right, so this little gap that he starts with his outside of his right leg is immediately closed. And then John's got a shorter swing than most pros have. So he'll start to recenter early. And then right here, he's back between those two red lines like he was where he started. He's equal space between those two red lines, and that's the very definition of being recentered.
And I think the key point to make here is that he moves to the right early, right? And as he's finishing his turn close or his backswing rotation, as he's doing that, that's when he makes that recentering move back to the middle. So he's turning in the backward direction to finish the backswing and shifting toward the target a little bit. And that's the part I think people have trouble with.
It's such a huge point to drive home is golfers always associate rightward movement as backswing, leftward movement or forward movement as downswing. Both are happening in the backswing, or should be happening. When his hips are still closing, he's already started shifting forward. And then by the time he does shift forward, or his arms do come down, he's well into his forward shift. It's not starting his forward shift there. And that's undoubtedly one of the most common, I would say, causes for issues we see in typical amateur golf swings.
Yeah, they associate the forward motion with forward rotation. Mm-hmm. So as soon as they make any kind of lateral back toward the target, they start to fire the hips. In reality, you want this shift turn motion in the swing. That first shift happens, then you make the backswing turn, then you make the shift back toward the middle, then you turn again. And if you can remember that shift turn, you'll be on the right track.
Exactly right. Now let's take a look at another golfer. So we're going to see another really clear example, this time with a driver. Because we're always asked, okay, does this apply to a driver? Does this apply to an iron? Both apply equally here. So we're going to look at Xander. Get another smaller golfer now, but very powerful golfer, and you're going to see why, one of the reasons why. And using these lines, when you record your swing, get used to putting these lines outside of each leg. You're going to learn a lot about your golf swing relative to your weight shift by doing that. So as Xander gets started, you can see a big movement to the right. And this is very common with many of the top players in the world.
Yeah, they get that early shift off the ball, gets that momentum started in the correct direction. Then as the club starts making its way over his head, you're going to see what happens next, which is that little recentering move.
And a little bit of a sidetrack, but that's a pet peeve of ours. We see so many golfers trying to avoid this world-class movement off the ball. And again, this is something, whether you're 3 years old or 300 years old, you can make this movement right here in the golf swing. It takes next to zero athleticism to do it, but we see so many people trying to avoid it because, or in an effort to simplify a movement. And we're all for simplification, but you can simplify and strip away a movement so much to where now you're hurting yourself.
It takes away all the athleticism.
Right.
And that initial move away on the backswing, that's the kind of the start of making any kind of athletic movement. If you're throwing a baseball, or hitting a baseball, or any of those kind of sports, there's a shift before you go forward. And golf is no different. It's just when you do it in the amounts that make it work, and if you're doing it at the wrong time, it will totally destroy the motion.
We record hundreds of golfers throwing a ball, right? Just standing there throwing a ball.
On the force plates, and
100% of them make a movement back. They don't even think about it, right? We can simplify you think of it just a simple movement of a jump. We can simplify a jump by not lowering ourselves. That would simplify it, but you just wouldn't jump very high. You wouldn't be very explosive in the golf swing if you took away this movement.
Yeah, these guys are obviously now having to hit it farther and farther. They're not cutting off that initial lateral movement because it adds speed to the motion.
It's the springboard for that forward motion.
And the more we look at these force plates that we have, the more we realize how important that first little move away is.
Absolutely.
It sets up all the ground forces.
All right, so here he is going up near the top now. You can see right here as the weight of that club starts to swing back over his head, he is, boom, right there recentered. And that's about as dynamic and as on-time recentering as you can do in the golf swing. And it's no wonder he is a long hitter, especially for the size he is, and the speed he's able to generate is quite impressive.
There's no holding back there.
No, he's not avoiding or trying to avoid any lateral movement. He's taking advantage of the lateral movement so he can really explode into the golf ball. And we'll show you the gears version of this here as well. And you're going to see something. It's a pretty textbook example of what you're looking for. So right here at the bottom is the sway number. And here's something we've never shown before. This is the shoulder sway number. So a three-dimensional dot right between the shoulders. Okay, and a three-dimensional dot right in the center of the pelvis. So these two numbers will start. They also always start at 0. And once the golfer starts moving, they'll move. You can see here this golfer, the winner out there on tour, he shifts the average is right around 1 to 1.5 inches shift away from the target. He's right there in the middle of that range, and then immediately, pretty much right after the takeaway, you can see how that starts to drift back. Now, video-wise, you wouldn't see much movement at all, right? This is always happening before you actually see the movement. And then by the time he gets to the top of his swing, he is literally back to 0-0.
You can see as that club was finishing, as it was going back toward the target, the club head, right, over his head, that's when he makes that little shift back to where he started.
That's pretty classic. And then, of course, you see the completion of that shift forward. He comes down into impact, and it's just a very dynamic way to swing. It's a very natural, athletic way. You do this every time you throw a ball without ever thinking about it. I think just because the ball's sitting there still, you start from a still position, it kind of makes things awkward. But we're going to show you here in the warehouse how to add this dynamic movement to your golf swing and do it in time so you can actually start to hit the ball with a lot more dynamicism.
Dynamics, close enough.
More athleticism, and hit it a lot farther and a lot more accurately. All right, so we got our old faithful Sheftick board here, and our good buddy Mark Sheftick makes these, and we'll put a link down below how you can get one. But this is a great little training aid basically to teach you how to recenter and the timing of the recentering, because you basically do it on a seesaw. So we're going to put Shaun's seesaw down here on the ground.
Yeah.
And Shaun has a really super valuable way of teaching yourself how to feel this.
Yeah, so what I have people do is take an iron and grip it under the head so this end gets really light because you got kind of a counterweight.
Right.
Put your lead hand on your trail shoulder.
And this is important because when we first started doing this, guys would just leave their arm out and they would just raising the arm. They weren't really turning. This kind of makes you turn.
Yeah, this gives you the sense that you got to move the body and the arm like you would in a normal swing with two hands.
Yeah.
The reason I like it with one hand though is it gives you a better sense of the timing of when the shift happens. It's a little difficult at first with two hands if you haven't done it, just because it complicates it a little bit.
Yeah, it's more of like a throwing motion now.
Yeah, it really turns on your kind of athleticism and the feel of that, and the timing really gets more natural with just one hand.
Okay, so to start with, we want to start with the left side down and the club out in front.
Yeah, so left side down, club here, okay? And the motion is click, swing, click, swing.
All right, so you said something very important there. It was start with on the left, click it early, click it still in the backswing.
Yeah, click. And it's not a big mass shove or
That's the big deal.
tipping this way a bunch. It's just click, swing, click, swing. So I'm moving pressure, learning to move pressure without a big mass movement.
Now, the important thing, and I think this is probably, whenever we get golfers on these in lessons for the first time, always we will see a click. Everybody gets that first click, right? It's two, the clicks are in the backswing.
Yeah, they need to be.
Yes.
It's click, swing. As I'm still making the backswing motion, I click it down, then I hit.
And I like what you said, that it's not just throwing this around or trying to slide forward to lower that. Balance yourself there in the middle.
Yeah,
It's tough to do, right?
really tough.
Now just drop one side, lower the other. So you can move this board without really throwing your body around.
And that's the mentality you want to start taking into your swing, is I don't really want to move too much mass. There's some, especially on the downswing. But the idea of getting that pressure over there so I can kind of hit against that is the feeling you want.
So this is what we talk about all the time. When you shift your pressure at the right timing, you have much more time in the downswing. And by having this left side down in the backswing, I'm now done in the downswing. I'm just turning and posting on that lead leg rather than trying to shift to it on the downswing.
And that's what we've learned a lot from these gas plates is when should that foot be down, and when should you start pushing in order to get the clubhead speed into the ball. And it needs to happen earlier so you can push earlier and let that happen.
Yeah, these vertical forces have got to spike when the club's pretty much vertical coming down.
Yeah, so it reaches vertical about right here with most guys. Well, you better be kind of positioned with pressure on the left foot and your body in a position where you can stretch this left side out and spike the pressure, and then will get maximum speed.
Yeah, because a lot of you out there you're not even getting back to 50-50 until that peak is supposed to be occurring. So you're just way late and you're missing out on a lot of potential clubhead speed. So get yourself a board, teach yourself the proper timing of it, go slow, put the club upside down, both clicks in the backswing, then a downswing, and I think you're gonna really start to see this transfer to your swing out on the course.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy it, go ahead and give it a like. Also, if you have any questions about today's video, or you have an idea of a video that you want us to shoot, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. We read every single comment. We also respond to the comments. So again, leave us a comment if you have any questions or there's anything you'd like to see. Now, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button. We have videos coming out every single week and we don't want you to miss one. So by clicking subscribe, that ensures you're notified right away when a new video comes out. And hey, if you want to add instant distance to your drive, and we all do, everybody wants more distance, go ahead and click the link in the pinned comment below. You're going to see a link. Click on it. It's going to take you to a page. You're going to enter your name and email address. We're going to send you an email where you're going to get access to instant distance, which is a video training that we put out. We know it's going to help you. We know we're going to see you farther down the fairway.